Hey everybody, Paul here from RV Basic Essentials, and it's getting to be that time of year. Fall has arrived and winter's not far behind, and depending where you live in the country, those cold temperatures are on the way. So for many, it's time to winterize that RV and get it ready for storage until next spring. So let's take a look at the steps that you need to take to make sure that your RV is properly winterized and ready to go, so that next spring you don't run into any major crazy issues. Let's get started. So the first step is making sure you drain all the water from your tanks and from your lines. So to start, you're going to find your low point drains. Most RVs should have this. My particular RV is a 2020 model, but you should find these regardless of what model. And so they should be labeled low point drain. And if you look underneath, you'll see there's a drain right there. That's for the freshwater tank. And then we have another low point drain here, and that's going to drain some additional water lines, including your hot water tank. You'll want to open those valves and just wait for it to completely drain. Make sure your RV is level so that you get a good drain on that. And then in a moment, I'll take you through some steps on how to actually blow out your lines as well. So part of draining your system is to make sure you drain your hot water tank. I highly recommend making sure that it's not hot when you do this, but here we go. So for my RV, there's a plug right here. It's a plastic plug. Some have the metal plug with a rod attached. Either way, you're going to find this plug. Undo that plug and that'll drain your water heater. There's also a pressure release valve right here, which my RV's been sitting for a minute, so I don't have any pressure at this point. So you want to make sure that's all drained out as well. All right, once those lines stop draining, then you're going to want to go ahead and blow out the lines. And you're going to do that by inserting a plug like this or similar, and you're going to hook that into your city water connection. And once you got that in place, you'll go ahead and connect your air compressor line into that fitting. Really important to note here that you want to set your air compressor to no more than about 30 psi. If you have a higher psi than 30, you chance blowing out some of your fittings and lines. Remember, these are plastic fittings in a lot of cases, so they can't withstand a lot of pressure. So just make sure that you've got your gauge set to about 30 psi. Then you're just going to watch these lines, these low point drains that we talked about earlier, and just wait for them to stop draining water to be sure that you've gotten all the water out of your lines. And once you got that done, then it's time to go inside and start running antifreeze through your system. So let's check it out. All right, we're on the inside of the RV now, and now it's time to try and find the water lines and the water pump so we can start running antifreeze through the system. Now, depending on what kind of RV you have, it can vary where the water pump and water lines are at. So you want to consult your manual, but in most cases, it's probably going to be in the kitchen area, so I recommend starting there. Okay, so I located a couple of panels in my kitchen area and found the water lines to both the water heater as well as the pump. So fortunately for me, it's all really easily accessible, and most of the parts and things that I need are already in place. Your model may vary and may differ. Most newer models are going to be fairly easy. Some older models might take a little bit of work and you might have to buy some additional pieces. For example, the water heater bypass kit, which is this right here. Mine comes complete with it. So pretty simple. First step you're going to do is you're going to, like I said, bypass that water heater, which is just a couple of valves. You're going to turn these knobs, and that's going to keep antifreeze from filling up your water heater tank. Because you don't want it to fill up your water heater tank. You want it to go through the lines. Okay, so once we've bypassed that water heater, we're going to go ahead and go on the pump side, and you'll see there's another valve here. We're going to turn that, and that's going to allow the system to pull the antifreeze from your container of RV marine antifreeze instead of through the water tank. And once you've done that, you're going to go ahead and turn on that water pump. From there, it's as simple as just turning on all of your faucets one at a time. So you'd start with the hot side, and you're going to turn that on until you have pink antifreeze coming out of it, and then you'll go over to the cold side, do the same thing. You'll do that same thing for your shower, as well as your bathroom sink, as well as your toilet. And you also want to do that for any other appliances you may have that have water running to them in your RV, depending on the size of your RV and the amenities that you have. Now you'll notice that I didn't actually run the antifreeze through my lines. We're year-round RVers. There's really just about a month and a half between December and January that we don't actually take our RV out. So we don't generally winterize it until we're done using it. So climate's going to be a determining factor for you. If you live in a colder climate that freezes all the time, probably want to go ahead and winterize. For us, we're in a milder climate, so we don't have a lot of cold snaps. And when we do, we just go ahead and use a portable heater. We put that heater on a timer so we can moderate when it comes on and off. We keep it at the lowest settings we can, so 45 to 50 degrees. And we just open up the cupboards, expose the plumbing areas as best we can. And that generally keeps the interior of the RV above freezing and keeps those lines from freezing up as well. I do recommend still blowing out your lines if you're going to follow that kind of process to make sure that you don't have hidden water in fittings that could potentially freeze underneath or on the outside of your rig. So use caution when doing that, but that has worked for us the past several years, and we've had several cold snaps in that time frame. All right, so the next step is making sure that all of the food is out of your RV. Make sure it's nice and clean. You've taken all the food out of your refrigerator and freezer. Obviously, with no power, you don't want food in there. And you also want to avoid rodents and other pests getting into your rig looking for food sources in the winter. So super important, get all the food out of your rig. Do a good thorough cleaning throughout it as well, and that'll help prevent any pest infestation. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is a thorough inspection of the outside of your rig. You're going to check all of the windows seals and make sure that there's no gaps or cracks, and make sure if there is, you get those sealed up. You're also going to do a thorough inspection of the roof of your RV to make sure that there's no cracks or tears in the roof material as well. You'll want to get those fixed prior to putting your RV away for the winter. So additionally, you want to go ahead and get tire covers for your RV. That's going to protect them from the harsh winter and UV sun rays, keep that rubber from cracking. So for your batteries, I recommend actually disconnecting your batteries and taking them inside, whether it be your garage or whatnot. Make sure they're fully charged. You can leave them in your RV if you're going to leave it hooked to shore power. But just best practice, if you're going to winterize it 100%, just go ahead and pull them batteries, and you can put them on a trickle charge over the winter, and they'll be nice and charged and ready to go for the spring. So lastly, the all-important question, to cover or not to cover your RV. There's different schools of thought on this. Some say it hurts the finish from the cover rubbing up and down on the side of the RV. Others say it protects it. So it's really personal choice. Obviously, you see RVs all the time that aren't covered all winter long in storage facilities. But I will tell you this, an RV cover will protect the paint from UV rays, oxidation, and it will act as an additional barrier for any water seepage and any cracks you may have missed. So it is another layer of protection that you should consider. So that about wraps up our video on winterization of your RV. I hope you found this information helpful. It's easy to overwhelm yourself thinking about the steps you need to take. And obviously RVs are a big investment, and everyone wants their RV to last as long as possible without having any major complications. So when in doubt, refer to your RV manual to make sure that you're following the proper steps for your RV. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and don't forget to check us out at www.rv-basic.com. essentials.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and happy camping.